Jack the Ripper is one of the most infamous serial killers in history, yet his true identity remains a mystery. Consequently, providing a detailed account of his early life is challenging. However, various theories and suspects have emerged over the years, each with their own background and upbringing. This essay explores the childhood and formative years of the most prominent suspects linked to the Jack the Ripper case. Suspect 1. Montague John Druitt. Montague John Druitt is one of the leading suspects in the Jack the Ripper case. Born on August 15, 1857, in Wimborne Minster, Dorset, England, Druitt came from a respectable family. His father, William Druitt, was a prominent local surgeon, and his mother, Anne Druitt, was known for her devout religious beliefs. Druitt received a good education attending Winchester College and later the University of Oxford, where he studied classics. After completing his education, he pursued a career in law, eventually becoming a barrister. Despite his professional success, Druitt struggled with mental health issues. His family had a history of mental illness, and Druitt himself exhibited signs of depression. In November 1888, shortly after the last of the canonical 5 Ripper murders, Druitt was found dead in the River Thames. His death was ruled a suicide, and a note found on his body suggested that he was deeply troubled. Some theorists believe that his mental instability and the timing of his death make him a viable suspect for the Ripper murders. Suspect 2. Aaron Kosminski. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish Jew who immigrated to England in the late 19th century, is another prominent suspect. Born in 1865 in the Polish town of Klodawa, Kosminski moved to London with his family to escape the anti-Semitic persecution prevalent in Eastern Europe. Kosminski settled in the Whitechapel district, where he worked as a hairdresser. He lived with his family in a small, overcrowded house, struggling to make a living in the impoverished neighborhood. Witnesses described Kosminski as a reclusive and eccentric individual with a deep mistrust of others, particularly women. Kosminski's mental health began to deteriorate in his early adulthood. He exhibited signs of paranoid schizophrenia, experiencing delusions and auditory hallucinations. In 1891, he was admitted to the Mile End Old Town Workhouse and later transferred to Colney Hatch Lunatic Asylum, where he spent the rest of his life. Some researchers believe that his mental illness and proximity to the crime scenes make him a plausible suspect. Suspect 3. James Maybrick. James Maybrick, a Liverpool cotton merchant, is another suspect whose early life has been scrutinized. Born on October 24, 1838, in Liverpool, Maybrick was the son of a wealthy businessman. He enjoyed a privileged upbringing, attending private schools and later traveling to the United States to further his career. In the 1870s, Maybrick settled in Liverpool and established a successful cotton trading business. He married Florence Chandler, an American woman, and the couple had 2 children. However, Maybrick's personal life was far from idyllic. He was known to have a volatile temper and a penchant for drugs, particularly arsenic and strychnine, which he used as stimulants. Maybrick's possible connection to the Ripper case emerged in the 1990s, when a diary purportedly written by him was discovered. The diary contained detailed confessions of the Ripper murders. However, the authenticity of the diary has been widely debated, with many experts dismissing it as a forgery. Suspect 4. Walter Sickert. Walter Sickert, a prominent British artist, is another intriguing suspect. Born on May 31, 1860 in Munich, Germany, Sickert moved to England with his family as a child. His father was a Danish-German artist, and his mother was the illegitimate daughter of an aristocrat. Sickert showed an early talent for art and studied under the famous painter James Whistler. Sickert's connection to the Ripper case stems from his interest in the Whitechapel murders and his alleged fascination with the macabre. Some theorists, notably crime novelist Patricia Cornwell, have argued that his paintings contain hidden clues linking him to the murders. Cornwell even claimed to have found DNA evidence connecting Sickert to one of the Ripper letters. However, these claims have been met with skepticism by many experts. The elusive early life of Jack the Ripper. The true identity of Jack the Ripper remains one of history's greatest mysteries. The suspects mentioned above, Montague John Druitt, Aaron Kosminski, James Maybrick, and Walter Sickert, represent just a few of the many individuals who have been implicated in the case. Each suspect's background provides a glimpse into the possible early life of the infamous killer. However, it is important to note that no definitive evidence has been found to conclusively identify Jack the Ripper. The lack of concrete information about the killer's identity makes it challenging to provide a comprehensive account of his early life. What is known, though, is that the Whitechapel murders were committed by someone with a deep-seated hatred of women and a disturbing penchant for violence. The fascination with Jack the Ripper endures not only because of the gruesome nature of his crimes but also because of the enigmatic figure behind them. Theories about his identity and upbringing continue to captivate the public imagination, ensuring that the legend of Jack the Ripper will live on for generations to come. The Canonical Five. Jack the Ripper's known victims, often referred to as the Canonical Five, were all women who lived precarious lives in the Whitechapel area. These murders were characterized by their brutality and the distinctive mutilations inflicted upon the victims. Mary Ann Nichols, also known as Polly, was the first of the Canonical Five victims. On August 31, 1888, her body was discovered in Bucks Row, now Durward Street, in Whitechapel. Nichols's throat had been slashed twice and her abdomen had been deeply mutilated. The killer had inflicted several incisions on her body, revealing a level of violence and precision that would become a signature of the Ripper's modus operandi. Annie Chapman was found murdered on September 8, 1888, in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street, Spitalfields. Like Nichols, Chapman's throat was cut and her abdomen had been brutally opened. In addition to these injuries, her uterus had been removed. This act of organ removal suggested a certain degree of anatomical knowledge, leading investigators to speculate that the killer might have had medical training. Elizabeth Stride's body was found on September 30, 1888 in Dutfield's Yard, off Berner Street, now Henriques Street. Unlike the other victims, Stride's body showed no signs of abdominal mutilation. It is widely believed that the Ripper was interrupted during this attack, preventing him from completing his typical gruesome ritual. Stride's throat had been cut, but the lack of further mutilation indicated that her death might have been quicker than the others. Catherine Eddowes was murdered on the same night as Elizabeth Stride, only 45 minutes later. Her body was found in Mitre Square, in the City of London. Eddowes's injuries were among the most severe. Her face had been mutilated, her throat was cut, and her abdomen had been opened with several organs, including a kidney and part of her uterus, removed. This attack's brutality suggested a heightened frenzy and confidence from the killer. Mary Jane Kelly, the final canonical victim, was discovered on November 9, 1888, in her rented room at 13 Miller's Court, Dorset Street, Spitalfields. Kelly's murder was the most horrific of all. Her body was extensively mutilated, with her face, abdomen, and thighs disfigured beyond recognition. The killer had removed several internal organs and placed them around the room. The level of brutality exhibited in Kelly's murder indicated that the Ripper had more time and privacy, allowing him to indulge in his macabre ritual. The investigation. The investigation into the Ripper murders was conducted primarily by the Metropolitan Police, with assistance from the City of London Police for Eddowes's murder. Despite the efforts of the investigators, including Inspector Frederick Aberline, the case remained unsolved. Several factors hampered the investigation. During the late 19th century, forensic science was still in its infancy. There were no means to analyze DNA or fingerprints, which made it difficult to identify the killer. The communication and cooperation between the Metropolitan Police and the City of London Police were inadequate, leading to inefficiencies and missed opportunities. The press sensationalized the murders, coining the name Jack the Ripper, and creating a public frenzy that complicated the investigation. False leads and hoaxes, including numerous letters purportedly from the killer, further muddled the efforts of the police. Letters from Jack the Ripper. The Ripper case is notable for the numerous letters received by the police and media, allegedly from the killer himself. The most famous of these are the Dear Boss letter, the Saucy Jackie postcard, and the From Hell letter. While their authenticity remains debated, these letters added to the legend and mystery of Jack the Ripper. The Dear Boss letter, dated September 25, 1888, was signed Jack the Ripper and contained taunts directed at the police. It was the first instance where the name Jack the Ripper was used. The Saucy Jackie postcard, received on October 1, 1888, mentioned the double event, Stride and Eddowes, and mocked the police's efforts to catch the killer. The "From Hell" letter, accompanied by a small box containing part of a human kidney, was received on October 16, 1888. It was signed, "Catch me when you can, Mr. Lusk," referring to George Lusk, the chairman of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee. Jack the Ripper's reign of terror was brief but brutal. From August to November 1888, he murdered 5 women: Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The ferocity of these killings, combined with the killer's ability to evade capture, created a climate of fear and urgency. The Metropolitan Police, led by Commissioner Sir Charles Warren and Inspector Frederick Aberline, faced immense pressure to solve the case. The police force was inundated with tips, false leads, and numerous letters claiming to be from the killer. Among these, the Dear Boss letter, the Saucy Jackie postcard, and the From Hell letter stood out, although their authenticity remains debated. The Ripper's last known murder, that of Mary Jane Kelly on November 9, 1888, was the most gruesome. Her mutilated body was discovered in her room at 13 Miller's Court. This killing marked a turning point in the investigation. The brutality of Kelly's murder and the fact that it occurred indoors suggested the killer was becoming bolder and more desperate. In response, the police intensified their efforts. House-to-house searches were conducted and more plainclothes officers were deployed in Whitechapel. The police also collaborated with the City of London Police, particularly after the murder of Catherine Eddowes, whose body was found in their jurisdiction. Despite these efforts, the killer remained elusive. The use of bloodhounds was even considered, though never fully implemented due to logistical challenges and the reluctance of some officials. The press continued to play a significant role, both aiding and hindering the investigation by publishing sensational stories and purported clues. Suspects and theories. As the investigation progressed, several suspects emerged. These included Montague John Druitt, a barrister and teacher whose body was found in the Thames shortly after the last murder; Aaron Kosminski, a Polish Jewish immigrant with a history of mental illness; and Michael Ostrog, a Russian con artist and thief. Other suspects ranged from well-known public figures like Sir William Gull, Queen Victoria's physician, to more obscure individuals like Francis Tumblety, an American quack doctor. Each suspect had their proponents and detractors, but none could be definitively linked to the crimes. The police's inability to secure a conclusive suspect led to increased public frustration and criticism. The end of the murders. The end of the up. After the murder of Mary Jane Kelly, the Ripper's killing spree abruptly ceased. Several theories attempt to explain this sudden halt. One possibility is that the killer died or was incarcerated for an unrelated crime. Montague John Druitt's suicide, for instance, has been suggested as a potential reason for the end of the murders. Another theory posits that the killer emigrated or was committed to an asylum. The cessation of the murders did not alleviate the fear and curiosity surrounding the case. Public interest remained high, fueled by ongoing media coverage and speculative reports. The inability to capture the killer left an indelible mark on the collective psyche of the time, transforming Jack the Ripper into a symbol of urban terror and the unknown dangers lurking in the shadows. Long-term impact. The Jack the Ripper case had significant long-term impacts on both policing and society. The inability to solve the case exposed the limitations of contemporary forensic science and investigative methods. As a result, the case spurred advancements in police procedures and the development of forensic techniques. Public outcry over the murders and the police's handling of the case also led to greater scrutiny of law enforcement practices and increased demands for police accountability. The establishment of more structured investigative protocols and better coordination between different police departments can be traced back, in part, to the challenges faced during the Ripper investigation. The case also had a lasting cultural impact. Jack the Ripper became a figure of myth and legend, inspiring countless books, films, and theories. The mystery of his identity and the gruesome nature of his crimes have ensured that the story remains a topic of fascination and speculation. Conclusion. The downfall of Jack the Ripper is not a tale of dramatic capture or justice served. Instead, it is a story of an investigation that, despite the best efforts of the police and the intense scrutiny of the public, ended without resolution. The cessation of the murders remains as enigmatic as the identity of the killer himself. Jack the Ripper's legacy is a testament to the enduring allure of unsolved mysteries and the dark fascination with the macabre. Thank you for watching this episode of Classified Capsule. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history's dark past. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest content. See you next time.